Now I have a 40. Now I have a flashlight, and I'm shining out one way, and it would stop this side and instantly start running through this way.
I don't think life-changing is a big enough word sometimes to describe the impact of some of these Bigfoot encounters people are having. And in tonight's episode, I've got Kevin on the show. And Kevin's from the state of Washington, and he had an encounter close to Mount St. Helens one night while he was out camping that absolutely changed his life. He encountered two of these creatures, and we're going to get into every single detail of his encounter. He's got a lot to go through. You don't want to miss 1 second of this episode. But before we do, I just want to say thank you for being here. Couldn't do the show without you. But if you've got an encounter, I would love to hear it. You can send it to me by email at mysteriesunknownpodcast@gmail.com. But let's jump right into his story.
Okay, so Kevin from Washington State. I'm from Pasco, Washington. I reside in Spokane right now, but my first encounter, I got back from, I guide, I'm a hunting fishing guide. I guide up in Alaska. And, you know, we always I grew up going to a Christian church camp every summer. And, you know, we always heard the campfire stories about Bigfoot, you know, and it's just like something, you know, you don't think is real, right? You know, it's not supposed to be real. It's not in the Bible. It's not, but I came back September 4th, 2014, and great friends of mine, they were down in Boise, Idaho. I grew up with them, and their in-laws, his in-laws lived across the street from my house. And I was going down to Drano Lake, bottom of Mount Rainier or Mount St. Helens, Pinchon National Forest. My buddy Jake tells me about this campground. They just bought property down there. And I was like, cool, dude. He's like, you need to check out this campground. There's a river runs through it. It's awesome, whatever. So, of course, I went to Alaska, came back. I ship home about $100,000 in seafood a year, guiding for 3 months. But my friends were already on the water, and I took my little boat, and I had a Denali SUV, and the tailgate would hit the tip of my boat. So I would just unhook and leave the chains connected and pull forward a little bit. So I get on the water, I fish, I catch fish, in the cooler, in the boat, on ice, and I get back up to the campground. And the wind, I told my buddies, I was like, hey man, dude, it was just me and my dog. That was it. I missed my pup. Dude, I had 104-pound yellow lab, Harley. Anybody and everybody knows me, knew my dog. He owned the captain's seat of the truck. But long story short, dude, I took him and we went back up to camp, made some elk steaks, tossing the ball for him. We took a little fat nap. And anybody and everybody knows Drano Lake, you want to catch your fish, your 2 fish limit prior to midnight, and then you catch your fish midnight on, because the night bite's actually the funnest. That's where it's just fun. The night bite's epic. Anybody and everybody knows it. So I got on the water. I told my buddies, I said, I'm going to go find this campground. I'll be back. And I went back up. I found the campground, Moss Creek. I came rolling in. There's about a $200,000 diesel pusher, camp host, no vehicle. Don't know who to pay. And I parked closest to them, and I'm along the road. And so I hung out there for a bit, and I went down, got on the water about 8:45, started getting dark, started fishing through the dark. It's about 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock, it got pretty dark, and I've never encountered waves inside Drano the way they were that day. I mean, it's windsurfing capital of the world. So when I told my buddies, I was like, dude, I don't need to fish. I don't need a fish. I said, I'll see you boys in the morning. So I pulled off the water, went across the lake, hooked back up, went back up to the campground, pulled in, no car, just a motorhome. And I come rolling in. I parked and threw the ball for the dog, stoked a little fire, poured a whiskey, and that was it. Like, had, you know, one drink by the bonfire, and I climbed in the back of the Denali, unhooked my boat, separated by about a foot, and I was camped out. Um, about it was roughly around 1:20 in the morning. I wake up to my dog. I'm laying in the back of my Denali, and I wake up to my dog, 104-pound yellow male. I've had bear in camp. I've had cougar. I've had everything. I've had every animal. I know every animal sound. Um, but this dog, it was at the back of the tailgate, looking passenger side.
I promise we'll get right back to the encounter, but I want to talk to you guys about something that's very important. I spent about 16 years of my life as a police officer, and because of that, I developed a lot of chronic pain. Not only that, but sitting behind this computer and this camera doing this podcast, my back hurts a lot. And so you go down this rabbit hole to trying to find answers, and that's where I came across this product right here. And one of the things that I'm going to do before I talk too much about this product, I'm going to try this out before I tell you about it. But this is from Castleflex. It's great for chronic pain. The owner of this company has reached out and wanted to support this channel. He loves Bigfoot. He actually had a UFO encounter, and I'm going to have him on the show sometime soon to talk about that. But I'm going to try this product out before I tell you too much about it, but it's supposed to be great for chronic pain. It stretches your body. We'll see how this goes. I'm starting now. I'll keep you guys informed, but let's jump right into the story.
You started hearing popping and breaking. I'm going, okay, I got a bear, whatever, something. And I grabbed his leash and I half hitched it around my right leg, grabbed it, ran it through, hooked him up so he's attached to my leg so he doesn't bolt because he will chase bear. Been there, done that. And instantly he like shoots to the right and you start hearing popping to the right. So over the driver's side. So now I got these two things rotating my truck in the air. I'm right against the road. But the weirdest thing is you don't see them. I mean, I have my 40 cal, I have a shotgun, I got a flashlight. You don't see them. And I'm laying on my back in my truck and I'm going, dude, just go to bed. Go to bed. It's elk or it's deer or it's this or raccoons. And you guys, anybody in the outdoors won't believe what raccoons the sound they can make. So long story short, then these things kept rotating my pickup and then they started communicating. And it's the same apish sounds that I have heard from hundreds of encounters. Again, this is something that is not supposed to exist, period. And it took me 3 years to tell this story besides to one person. But these aren't supposed to exist. And this is something that man can't make. There is no way possible. These things start rotating the truck. And every time I was laying on my back going, dude, shut up, go to bed, to now I'm sitting on my butt. Now I'm on my knees. Now I have a 40. Now I have a flashlight and I'm shining out one way. And it would stop this side and instantly start running through this way. And now I'm this way and same thing back and forth. And they're just impressive on how they do not want to be seen. I don't know what to do. I don't know if they hit the ground. I don't know. And again, this is something at the time that I did not think that even existed. It was campfire stories from Boy Scout camp. Dude, I'm looking out this side and all of a sudden something would trample through this side. Now I'm looking out the passenger or driver's side and something would come back this way. I'm not kidding you. They messed with me for about an hour and 45 minutes. And then all of a sudden behind that camp host, and you don't hear a branch breaking. You hear a tree getting splintered. Like, I mean, and this goes exactly of millions of people have said this. I've watched hundreds of videos. And again, I mean, it loops you into a wormhole. But this tree splintering, you hear it just, and when it hit the ground, the percussion, you felt it. And I'm on my knees now. I've been on my knees, sitting here with a 40 and my flashlight. The yell that thing emitted, there's no animal nor man can make. That growl, that thing, I mean, it roared through, and you can't make it. There's no amount of lung power a man has that can make that sound. There's just no way. No way. It's 1,000 times more powerful than a man. I mean, it hits you. It roared, and when it did, I mean, I'm talking just ripping a roar like King Kong. And these two things shut up. And then that was it. It was silence. Um, I think it was after doing a lot of years, I mean, September 14th to now. Again, something that I didn't even believe that I believed in. But I honestly think it was two juveniles that were trying to flex. Dude, try to, I'm on their river, I'm stealing their fish, whatever, and this guy's like, hey, dude, shut up. And that's what I think. So I left. And I'm not joking. I mean, dude, it was dark. I was so petrified that I was in my truck and I jumped in the driver's seat and I started my truck and I rolled up the windows, reached back. My dog is still attached to my leg, shut the window, AC on. It's hotter than crap. Shut my sunroof, and I threw it in gear and I pull forward and realize my boat's not even hooked up. The chains are and the electrical's hooked up, but it's not attached to the bumper. And I'm like, I'm not getting out. Dude, I wouldn't get out. I waited. I looked at the clock and I had the AC on, dude, and I wouldn't get out until I could see the trees beyond the trees. Like, I'm not kidding you. I was like, one more hour, one more hour. And I got out, dude, and I threw my launcher in, my little pack table, my little camp cooler that I had on the floor, and I threw it in and I hooked up my boat and I ripped. I was out. Done. There's so much history of Bigfoot encounter down there. Again, you can call me whatever you want, dude, but I ain't going out in the mountains by myself again. There's no way, dude. I'm not going hunting for them. I don't want to look for them. I got friends that go out and look for them. The only way I'm going to do it is do it like I will go to a campground like that with people. 2 years ago, I was working on a ranch up out of North Spokane, and I have border collies, and I had a border collie right. I got two right now, and I had one, and I opened up my door and let him out. Normally, he just runs out and runs the property. There's 1 acre that's completely fenced, 20 that's open mountains, a ranch over to the right, tons of livestock, from chickens to pigs to cows, to all of it, horses and all. Um, I'm not kidding you. I opened the door and it was November. I was on the phone talking to my fiance that was down in Texas. So it would have been about 6:30 my time, 4:30 hers. And the sun started coming up and we were on the phone for about an hour, hour and a half, and the sun started coming up. It kind of looks like what it looks like now. And about 30 feet out the camper door where I was living, um, there, I estimate the thing at 9 feet tall because the chain link fence is 4 feet. And its hands, when it walked, I will never forget it. My dog woke up in the morning, opened the door. He would not get out. He jumped up behind my neck and he sat there and whined. I'm like, dude, I mean, my border collies are all little tiny 22 pounders. And he jumped off the bed and went under the bed and hid. I'm like, dude, what's your deal, man? Like, what are you? And I'm sitting there talking to Aaron on the phone. And I watched this 9 foot thing walk. Like, I mean, this thing just glided. And I'm not kidding you, chest to back, from its pecs to the back was probably 24 to 26 inches, shoulders, all of 4 feet, huge. No neck, no neck, just hunched. And this thing walked, but it was so intelligent because it did snow, but it was and it was going toward that farm with all the livestock. The thing is I did, and everybody asked me when I finally told the story about September 4th, 2014, everybody's like, why didn't you go look for the tree? Why didn't you go look for the tree? You go look for the tree. You go look for the tracks, dude. No, I ain't doing it. And so, dude, I actually, this time, I opened the gate, and I walked around the gate, and I went looking for it. I went looking for tracks. The thing is, there wasn't any. The patches of snow, I swear this thing, I mean, it's so overgrowth with this property was so overgrown, it's stupid, but it knew where to walk. So that that was like I looked for toe prints, for anything, for all of it. I actually looked. The thing is, I love cooking and I cook fresh every night. I go to the grocery store every day. You can ask Fred Meyer right here in Spokane. They all know me. And I went to Yokes and I was moving down to Texas. And so I was moving down to Texas like a couple days later, and I told Aaron, I was like, when I was on the phone, I'm laying there and I had my phone on my chest. I was like, holy crap. I was like, I just saw Bigfoot. And it was 30 yards away. It glided by the fence like it didn't even care. Just walked on by. And then the next night, no BS, man. I go to Yokes, I get groceries. Always trust your dog. Anybody, everybody, if you're out, your dog, I'm going to tell this, and I didn't put two and two together, but I got back and I got out of my diesel, dude, and my dog goes running down to the door. Like he wanted in bad and he went under the bed. He didn't get on the bed. He wasn't happy to be home. He just went under the bed. And I'm like, what is your deal? And all of a sudden, no kidding, I had her on speakerphone. Uh, Rest in peace, Aaron. I wish you were listening to this right now. I wish you were here. But she goes, and all you hear is, again, same exact sound from 2014 through the Sierra vocals back in 70s. And she goes, what is that? And I go, shh, listen, he's back. And dude, you hear it, how it comes through the trees. I can't do it. You can't do it. Nobody can do it, dude. It's not a coyote. I mean, I could get coyotes howling. I got every animal call behind me I make. So, but it was just absolutely crazy.
And I can definitely tell that this has had a tremendous impact on you and your life and the way you think about things. But, why do you think, and I really think that maybe marked is the wrong word, but why do you think it is that once you have one encounter, your odds of having a second one go way up, man? What do you think that is? What's that about?
I don't know. Are we sensitive to different energies? Um, and then this is one thing that I didn't tell you guys. We call it the Lake Roosevelt. Every year I spent 3 months, and I will be honest with this. I was 15. I was stoned out of my mind. And dude, I was ripped. But I came back to the cooler, and anybody listening to this right now, you open up those old school coolers, you know, and my dad wasn't one to mess with, but I came back in to get something to drink. And I looked over, my mom and dad were sitting there, and my mom was sober. She didn't drink. She didn't do anything. I came from a great family. And we all call it the Lake Roosevelt UFO. It was right over above Katie's Cove. A green football hovering over all of it, everything. Before you know it, all of Porcupine Bay. It had been about 1994, 95. And the whole campground was like, oh my gosh, look at that. What's that? And the whole campground's on the beach. And we're all watching it. And that thing turned around and shot straight up. So there's a million things that we're never going to have answers to. I don't know why I think And that's what I question myself. It's like, why did I get so lucky to encounter this in September 14th, see one 2 years ago, and um, I don't know. I don't know. And the thing, after September 14th, a friend of mine lives in Klawock. He guides in Alaska. And I started getting into Bigfoot. Like, I need answers. You know, you need those answers. You need to find that. And I started watching a documentary that was on Discovery Channel, and it showed a kid that was up in Klawock, and he was deer hunting with his dad. Everybody knows about Alaska, Southeast Alaska. We don't measure rain in inches. We measure it in feet. Okay. If you don't like the weather, wait 15 minutes. But it's pouring. So I was up in Alaska. I was sitting next to my buddy who I guide with. He's a Native American up there in Alaska. And I watched this video and I asked him, I said, Ev, I said, dude, I watched something, and he's like very spiritual, you know, with totem poles and, you know, native heritage and culture. His paintings and drawings are amazing. And I asked Evan, I said, did I watch this? And this is again, it took me 3 years besides telling Jake, it took me 3 years to talk to anybody about this story. So I swirled down a rabbit hole with this crap. But I talked to Ev and I said, hey, dude, I saw this documentary and this kid's from Klawock. And he stopped and looked at me and he goes, Kevin, he goes, if that kid said it, he's seen it. And they got, apparently his dad and him got to a spot to go hunting on Prince of Wales Island. He was leaning up against the window. It was pouring down rain. They were going to wait for it to get light. And the kid woke up and Bigfoot's hands were right here on top of the truck and his face is right at the window. And it stood up. When it stood up, it was right to his belly button. And the thing just turned and walked off. I was sitting here just watching him through the glass. And I was like, holy crap. And then more stories, more stories, more stories. But I listened to yours. I listened to your podcast. I listened to Silas. I listened to cryptids. I watch videos, and everything goes with my same crap that happened to me. Why do I think we're so lucky to get a first encounter, a second? I don't know. Like, why me?
I don't know that you're going to have a good answer, man, and I don't know that there is an answer. It's just always something I've really wondered, because a lot of times that happens, man. You have one encounter, you're generally going to have another one. But you know, going back to your very first encounter that you had, when these things surrounded your vehicle like that, and all this stuff started to happen, man, did you smell anything at that time, or was there anything that leading up to that gave you any kind of indication there was something going to happen?
No, I think they could be like a skunk. Personally, I think they could admit a smell when they want to. That's one thing I think, to where it's, if they want to admit that smell, a lot of people come into a spot and they talk about it and they're like, oh, and I smelt this odor, this wet dog, this, you know, rotten garbage. I think that's another flex that they can do, personally. I think that, in my own opinion, I think that's one thing they can do. If they want to admit it, if they want to be around you, they're going to be around you. They're going to monitor you. They're going to be around you. Um, you know, I don't know. There's another crazy story that happened a couple years back when I was driving. I was listening to Moving 92.5 in Seattle. Just got done listening to Brook and Jubal show, and the radio host came on after 10 o'clock, and he goes, hey, dude, he goes, we're going to start the show off. We've got a really special guest, whatever. And this guy got on the phone, and the guy was dying. Anybody could find it, but the guy was dying of cancer, and he was sworn to secrecy. He was a biologist for the state of Washington. And when Mount St. Helens erupted, I do believe 63 people died that would not leave the property. Leave their properties when Mount St. Helens erupted. But this guy got on the radio and he goes, I was sworn to secrecy. Um, I showed up to Mount St. Helens. Helens helicopters were taking platforms of freaking. He goes, I showed up and I saw feet and giant feet and hands hanging off, piled up on tarps underneath tarps, and there was men in black, military, all of it. And he looked and he was like, just frozen. He didn't know what, and he goes, "What is that?" He's like, and they're like, "That's deer and elk." He goes, "No, and it goes, "It's deer and elk." And the guy on live radio said, "What are you gonna do to me? I'm gonna be dead in a few months. I've been sworn to secrecy since 1981 or 1980."
I've definitely heard that story, man, and it makes you. I mean, there's got to be credibility with that because why would you do a deathbed confession, right? Unless there's truth to it, people don't just do that. So there's a lot of evidence out there, man, and stuff's getting out more and more every day, and people are coming forward more and more with their stories, and and we need to, but I agree with you with the fact that I think they can turn the smell on and off. I think that's almost like a defense mechanism that they had. But with your second encounter, you had a visual sighting of it. Man, could you give us some descriptions of what this thing looked like?
Oh man, when I saw it, I mean, I was floored. There's It's not like you're looking at the feet, it's the muscle mass in its thighs, the muscle in its, I mean, dude, I got Pasco High School's leg press record still to this day. And I'm not kidding you. The thighs on, the arms on this thing were bigger than my thighs. And we're talking arms that big. Fur. The fur, it's like they go to a salon. I'm not kidding you. I don't understand it. Like, I mean, deer and elk are pretty, you know what I mean? You see pretty bear and all of it, but it's amazing how pretty these things are. And I was just in awe, like watching this thing walk, but it glides. It's not, it just glides, just in a smooth motion, silent, absolutely silent. But again, there was no neck to this thing. Its head it was like this. But just beautiful fur. Beautiful fur. I mean, I'll tell you that. But I'm not joking. It was about twilight. It's about light as out right now. And it's huge.
You don't forget it. There's a couple things that stand out to me about that is when I had my encounter, the only way I could describe it is it glided up to the back, towards the back of the yard there, and then it glided back when it left, and it just was so smooth. I had never seen anything in my life, do that. And then, whenever I saw this thing, it floored me as how broad this thing was. It was so broad, and it's hard to put into perspective, just how big they are until you see one of these things. But, with all the encounters and experiences that you've had and all this stuff going on in your life, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this, but if you had the opportunity to see one of these things again, man, would you want to?
If I saw one, I got a friend of mine, I'm not going to drop his name. He's up here. He's up in my realm, up out of Colville. And him and his daughter were, this is last year, they were up and they were huckleberry picking. And they walked out, and his daughter, he was walking by and saw this huckleberry grove, and he stopped and he looked, and he swears right there, and he stopped his daughter. And he goes, come here. She goes like, Dad, I don't want any more huckleberries. And here's this freaking 6.5-foot Bigfoot sitting underneath the tree, reaching out and grabbing huckleberries and eating them one by one, and turned around and reached out and handed it to him. And you get mesmerized, when you see it, it's like time stands still. You don't know what to do. And I was like, dude, I would have taken the huckleberry, man. It handed him one. And it got up and turned and went around and walked up the hill.
Man, there's so much in God's universe we don't understand, and I look at everything through a biblical lens and trying to fit this stuff in a box. It's really hard to do, man. And there's a lot to talk about with your encounter, and you've had so much happen. But with all this stuff happening, man, do you think these are flesh and blood creatures, or do you think they're more than that, man? What's your thoughts?
That's the wormhole, dude. I don't have an answer to that. I that's where my mind's blown with it. Like really. That's where that's where I have a hard time. There's you look at back in the encounters of the 60s, the guys that disappeared down in the lower Cascades, in Washington State. You look at the stories of the loggers, when they started clear cutting Pacific Northwest. You know, I think they're territorial. One, I think I mean there's so many freaking stories, dude. It just blows your mind. How do you okay, so it's not real. Any Bigfoot enthusiast right now or anybody talking and thinking about this. Okay. You haven't seen one. When you do, it's going to blow your mind. It's going to change your world. I don't man, I don't know. I can't answer that question. I think they travel. I think they migrate. I do believe and I've listened and read a lot of books and I've listened to a lot of people about the Native American culture going in and that they used to be friends with them prior to white man taking over. Um, that's one thing, I do, we industrialized this whole nation and when it was pure, you know, um, I can't say they're supernatural. I honestly, everybody's like, okay, why don't we find a carcass? Why don't we do? Well, you know what? If we weren't industrialized the way we are, you and I could be brothers, dude, and I could die and you could bury me and nobody know where I was. You know what I mean? So what's the difference? I think they're intelligent. I think they're going to be seen when they want to be seen or they get caught accidentally. Um, but I honestly, I mean, look at all the samples of hair. Look at Port Chatham. Look at how do you get rid of 1,100 people out of Port Chatham in 3 days? Like, come on, you know. It's dude. There's like I said, it's just answers we will never have. There's questions we won't have answers to.
I think you got to get comfortable with the fact that there's a lot of things that, like you said, we will never have answers to, and that's just, I can tell you, man, I have more questions today than when I started this podcast. It just seems like every time I interview somebody, I walk away scratching my mind, my head, thinking, man, what about this? What about that? And you just finally have to realize, like, I might not ever get that answer, but man, if somebody's listening to this podcast and they're sitting on an encounter and they don't know what to do with it and they're not sure if they want to come forward with it, man, what advice would you give to them?
Anybody and everybody, if you have anything that you feel that is something that you have your mind twisted to, don't take 3 years to dump it. There's too many people that I've encountered all of this. Don't be like me. Just just get on it and tell your sighting. I mean, from the truck driver, there's YouTube videos all over, and one of my crazy ones that I love watching is the shapeshifter video. Going through Utah, the truck driver through Utah. I mean, that's just cooler than crap. But don't just learn as much as you can about what you think and explain your story to people who are like minded. That's it. They ain't gonna call me crazy. Fine. I don't care, dude. Call me crazy. I know how big these things are. I don't care, dude. I don't care. So you can call me crazy all you want, but share your story. Get it out because we want to hear it. Simple as that. We want to hear your experience the same way. The same way. And I hope you guys like my stories too, but I want to hear everybody's. We're all Bigfoot nerds.
It's solid advice, man, because that's true. Like we're all, we're all sitting here trying to learn, and we all want to hear these encounters and these stories. And so, hopefully that'll encourage people to come forward. And I've done my best to try to make this a safe place for people to do that. And I think we've built a really good community of supportive people that they just want to learn, man. They want to hear these encounters and they want to learn. But I appreciate you coming on. But I got one more question. Back to your very first encounter, do you think there was an alpha male there that absolutely shut them down? Do you think that's kind of what happened?
I really do. I really do. I don't know if it was telling juveniles to shut up and leave him alone, or if he was coming in to. I mean, I'm on the White Salmon River. I mean, Steelhead were running. Um, and again, like I said, I think if you're in their territory on a food source, I really think they migrate. You look at Native Americans. I mean, we have Kettle Falls, we have Solilo Falls, we have all these spots that were native for traveling to trade for fish. People all the way, Native Americans all the way from Arizona, Oklahoma, all of it came. Could you imagine sitting here going, hey, nephew, cousin, get ready to travel. We're leaving tomorrow. And we're going to go all the way to Solilo Falls just to go get fish. Can you imagine that? Dude, I'll put you in spots in freaking the Blue Mountains. You're like, I don't want to go down and up that. And these people did it. So, I think they're protective over their food source, number one. But yeah, man, I don't know. I think they migrate. I really do. I think younger Bigfoot get pushed out of certain areas. I believe there's what research I've done. I think there's more aggressive Bigfoot up north. I do believe they migrate. When it comes down to are they supernatural? No, I think they're just a different dimensional being. Because you see people. I've watched videos of some guy and his son on what's it called? A Flash of Beauty. And they were talking about one turned around and like huddled down into a ball, turned into a cube into a ball and shot up the hill. I think I think they are flesh and blood. I think the government knows exactly what they are. I've read a lot of stories about people who have shot one. And again, the last thing I could say about this, if they're not real, why is there a federal law on killing a Bigfoot?
It's a great way to sum it all up, man. Like we could sit here and talk about this stuff all night long. And they definitely know. The government knows what's going on. They know it's there. They're doing their thing, and there's a lot of reasons why they're protecting these things. And we could go off into that rabbit hole, but there's still no answers there. But man, I appreciate you coming forward, sharing your encounters and your experiences, and just taking the time out of your busy schedule to do that. So I appreciate you sharing that with my audience. I know they really enjoyed that. And guys, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. He's had quite the experience with Bigfoot and lived a very incredible life, and probably lives one of the most beautiful parts of the country. But it takes a lot of guts to come forward to share those type of encounters. And if you're sitting on an encounter tonight and you're looking for a safe place to share it, I promise you at Mysteries Unknown, we can definitely give you that. I'd love to hear from you. You can always email me at mysteriesunknownpodcast@gmail.com. I am very thankful to be able to sit in this chair and do this podcast. I'm grateful for each and every one of you guys. Thanks to all the members. Also, guys, I just appreciate this week's sponsors. Check out castleflex.com. I'm just thankful for everybody out here that loves the show. I'm going to say it. Stay prayed up. We'll see you in the next episode.